या तो तुम्हारी मेंटल हेल्थ खराब होने वाली है या फिर या फिर तुम कहीं और जाने वाले हो।
एक बार ऐसे ही बियर पीने के बाद हमने सोचा कि इवन म्यूजिक ट्राई करते हैं, लाइक लेट्स सी, बिकॉज दोनों को म्यूजिक में इंटरेस्ट है।
ये स्टोरी काफी फेमस हुआ हमारे कंपनी में एंड उसके बाद ही नोन एज चैन द मैन। तो हाँ, एक टाइगर स्टोरी है क्या। आई यूज्ड टू कांटेक्ट चैन एंड मैं पूछता था कि भाई इतना काम कैसे कर लेते हो। एक चीज मुझे सॉरी टू इंटरजेक्ट बट एक चीज मुझे ऐड करना है यहाँ पे, क्योंकि देयर हैव बीन टाइम्स वेयर आई यूज्ड टू कांटेक्ट चैन एंड मैं पूछता था कि भाई इतना काम कैसे कर लेते हो, राइट। एंड टू बी ऑनेस्ट आई वाज वर्किंग 12 आवर्स 14 आवर्स, राइट। तो ऐसा नहीं कि मैं 4 घंटे काम करके मैं पूछ रहा हूँ इससे कि कैसा काम कर रहे हो। आई वाज ऑलरेडी फीलिंग कि मैं अपने पीक पे हूँ और ये बंदा मैं ऐसे पूछता हूँ कि इतना काम कैसे कर लेते हो। एंड आई स्टिल रिमेंबर द रिप्लाई, it's been 2 years I think, but I still remember the reply he gave me. And Chan, you told me that अगर मेरे टास्क लिस्ट में कोई चीज है ना, वो मुझे एंजाइटी देती है until until that is kind of completed. I just cannot sleep. And इसके लिए मुझे and at that point in time is when I thought कि uh, या तो तुम्हारी मेंटल हेल्थ खराब होने वाली है या फिर या फिर तुम कहीं और जाने वाले हो, राइट। यू आर गोइंग टू रियली रियली ग्रो अहेड इन योर करियर बिकॉज द काइंड ऑफ पुटिंग इन 16 hours 18 hours on a day to day basis, it was impossible. Like मेरे लिए तो बहुत ये था and I was obviously starting में when I joined मेरे लिए था कि I want to obviously perform जितना बाकी सारे लोग, जैसे तुम कह रहे थे, right. You have people from IIT Bombay. At one point in time we had this guy Aman join in. I don't know if you had left by then or not. तो वो वाला बंदा, हाँ वो वाला बंदा AIR2 था, राइट। तो इवन दो मेरा बैकग्राउंड है ट्रिपल आईटी से, मैं अपने आई एम सीनियर टू हिम एंड आई हैव स्ट्रांग फंडामेंटल्स, देयर इज सम ऑब्वियसली अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ रेस्पेक्ट फॉर द काइंड ऑफ कैपेबिलिटी दैट गाय हैज, राइट। सो इवन आई हैव दिस थिंग कि मुझे अपने आप को प्रूव करना है एंड आई हैव टू लाइक परफॉर्म. But the moment you told me you're putting in 16 hours and 18 hours and you had this whole thing with anxiety, I was like, हो गया मेरा. I am happy if Chan is the go-to guy. I can be the number 2. I'm okay with it, right? तुम इतना effort डाल रहे थे. And yeah, I mean, that's just something which I remember from back then.
I think this is something also like I got a partial answer to my earlier question, right? कि कैसे navigate कर लेते थे and then how did you like how you were trying. So one thing that one of the things that I take away from this is that you were driving it खुद से, like you wanted to try different stuff, and especially जो Abhinav भी बोल रहा था that you wanted to own some part of it. And at each point from what I see that maybe like see all people, they have different starting points because of factors which they cannot control, which are outside of their control, where you're born, how you're born, and all of that, what exposure you had. But what you do have control on is not the past but the future, and the present and the future, right? And that is something where from what all this discussion, as someone who doesn't know you before, my takeaway is that you kept at it, you continuously kept at it, you identified what you liked, and you were not shy to ask for it, first thing. And then you also worked very, very hard to go behind it, to make yourself capable. So just asking is not enough, but also build the
100%.
capability in yourself, and then yes, things will follow. That becomes a positive cycle, I'm guessing, right? There's a reinforcement cycle that you end up proving yourself for something, and then you get noticed. That leads to more exposure, that leads to more opportunities, and then it grows. And that is the pattern that I'm seeing here.
चैन को इतनी तारीफ की
Yeah.
हैबिट नहीं है. मैं सोच रहा क्या और पॉडकास्ट कर लेनी चाहिए. ये अच्छा लग रहा है.
नहीं, मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि मैं रिप्लाई कर दूँ.
Yeah, it's something that is to be honest, like I've realized it myself in different parts. Like at one point, like see, both of us coming from places of privilege, they're used to certain things, and you're like, and also having seen many different cases where you might feel that the person is not deserving, but they are growing where you're not. But in reality, in hindsight, this thing matters a lot. Like you put in the effort and you believe in it and you do it. things will happen, good things will happen, things fall in place usually. The universe has a funny way of like sort of sorting things out.
Very true, very true. If not today, it will certainly happen. If not today or if not tomorrow, it will certainly happen 6 months down the line.
Yeah.
For sure.
Even if you fail at the task, you will have built that skill, right? जैसे ये discussion है, जैसे लोग काफी लोग UPSC का करते हैं. Like I remember this very vividly. Like one of our seniors actually, I think her name was Madhuri something. I forgot her name. So she had come to IIIT and she was talking about it. तो मेरे को civil service का घंटा कोई idea नहीं था, ठीक है? कि क्या करते हैं लोग at all. I just knew that people wanted to do it. And for the rutba, you can say, right? कि IAS बनना है and then ये government नौकरी है वैसे वाला. But then one thing she said stuck with me, like when people, क्योंकि लोग इतने मतलब पूरे एकदम 12 उससे भी ज्यादा 16-18 घंटे रोज पढ़ रहे होते हैं and they're absorbing all sorts of info, right? रोज कर रहे होते हैं, even if they don't clear the examination because there are like a very limited set of seats and there are other factors, interview वगैरह. But when they go through that rigor, that discipline, the process, that changes them fundamentally. And you will come out as a better person. You will have developed skills which will be transferable, which will help in different areas. And do you think that helped in the journey after Aplara? Like, how was it? First, let's touch upon that, right? From Aplara ke baad, how did you, like, of course, you decided to leave. Rohan Jamani.
Yes.
And, then
yeah.
what happened after
that? उससे पहले I just want to know one thing. You mentioned this thing. I'm curious. You mentioned this thing where you are like कि लोग हैं IIT बॉम्बे से, IIIT से ऐसे, and तुम्हें अपने आप को prove करना है, and you were doing well for a significant amount of time. तो तब what were you feeling like? Did that barrier or that there is that inferiority complex या एक what do you say? There's this sort of image, right? कि IIT का बंदा, that to IIT बॉम्बे का CSE का, है ना? Not just any other IIT also, right? So did that image break या तुम्हें अपने आप में अलग confidence आया? Like what were you exactly thinking, feeling at that time?
Yeah, so IIT was a pretty big thing for me. So I remember जब हम Flex Auto में थे तो एक IIT आया था हमारे पूरे स्टार्टअप में, एंड देन लाइक हम एक दूसरे डिस्कस करने लग गए. वो एक IIT आया है, ही वाज फ्रॉम IIT कानपुर. आई थिंक उसका खुद का स्टार्टअप भी है अभी. I forgot the name of startup, but yeah. तो हम सब डिस्कस करने लगे, वो एक IIT आ गया है, एंड लाइक तो वो एक वैसा था कि हाँ अभी like IIT है, because मैं भी कोटा गया था, like I also wanted to be IITian, right? So seeing those people in front of you, like वो थोड़ा सा goosebumps टाइप के हो गए, देखो IIT आ गया IIT, so पता नहीं कंपनी को कहाँ ले जाएगा. That was the like mindset वो था उस टाइम पे. तो जब वो yes celebrity status, yes. फिर उसके बाद Aplara में आए, then उससे भी अच्छे IIT like IIT बॉम्बे, जिनके साथ I think Rupesh was one of the guys जिसकी I think 30th rank आई थी all India. So I worked with him, I worked with other people, like I worked with like Abbhinav and all, like धीरे धीरे वो जो सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस है तो वो बढ़ता गया, लाइक बूस्ट मिला काफी ज्यादा कि हाँ. देन मेरे दिमाग में वो चीज बन गया था कि इफ यू जस्ट पुट इनफ एफर्ट एंड यू जस्ट गिव इट अ मोर टाइम, लाइक वो चीज हो जाएगी. सो लाइक अभी दीज पीपल आर गुड एट इट बिकॉज उन्होंने अपने बैचलर्स में इतना किया, उन्होंने अपना किया है, तो देयर इज अ हिस्ट्री बिहाइंड इट जो भी उतना परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं. So I was like, it's just की matter of effort and matter of time. तो वो cope up कर लूँगा करके मैं. So that was the only like thing in my mind, or that worked. So, yeah.
That's really nice. Like, and that's something that जो मेरे मन में भी आता है. Like, if you think of it as a marathon, सबके starting points अलग हैं because of the preparation that done till then. If you keep at it, it's a long journey, and consistency is the key, right? One thing, you remember like Zulu used to say this, that is something he made us write it actually हमारे book के, मतलब in the I remember this is in the initial first complacency is the Donald Knuth, because I think it was Donald Knuth, someone's quote that Complacency is the one I fear most. हमको लगता था ये क्या है, ये क्या मतलब स्कूल वाली हरकतें हैं, लिखवा रहे हो बच्चों से ये all that. But when you've been through couple of things and this thing, right, it strikes you why it matters. It's a very simple thing, but consistency is more important than just, you know, like one off, you rest on your laurels.
Correct. Yeah, completely agree with that.
Yeah.
तो आगे now अपलारा हो गया, छोड़ दी, and अब आगे का क्या? What was the plan ahead?
I think I was looking for something like research job or maybe research internship. So I applied like bunch of places. I think I had a discussion with you whether कि IIIT में कौन है and कौन professor लेगा नहीं लेगा, कौन किस पे काम कर रहा है and all. And I applied to like bunch of professors, like 12, 13 professors I think I applied from few from IIIT, few from IIT and like bunch of others. But किसी का reply नहीं आया. किसी का reply नहीं आया. Then yes, so then Abhinav suggested कि he knows Avinash sir, and so like I just wrote Abhinav का सिर्फ नाम मैंने अपने मेल में, and then I मुझे reply आ गया. So अभिनव ने कोई मेल भी साइंड नहीं किया, बस मैंने अभिनव का नाम लिखा था ईमेल में और मुझे रिप्लाई आ गया. एंड इंटरव्यू में अविनाश सर ने कहा भी कि अगर अभिनव का नाम नहीं होता तो आई वुड हैव लाइक मैंने ऐसे इग्नोर कर दिया होता.
मैंने बोला ना मेरा थोड़ा बहुत चलता है और एक ही जगह चलता है, वहां चलता
नाम है. तो सुना ही होगा टाइप है ना, खुद को मक्खन लगा रहा है बस. I mean, to some people this might be like, you know, in contrast to what we were just discussing, ki hard work is good enough and like it's you doing it, that is more important rather than contacts वगैरह. But people also should realize that you were in such a position because you ended up continuously putting that effort in and making conscious decisions, है ना. And of course, why would he refer you? Like Abbhinav, why would he refer you if he didn't have a good impression? And he was not impressed. He was genuinely impressed by you, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to add. कि I would not have recommended. मतलब बहुत लोग आए हैं स्टार्टअप्स में, बहुत लोग हैं मेरे नेटवर्क में, सबको थोड़ी recommend करता हूँ. And if I'm recommending, I'm also putting my name behind it. वरना कल सर मुझे गाली देंगे कि किसे भेज दिया. Right? है ना. So I had that confidence कि this guy he has the ability to learn, and given the right support system, he will grow. अब इतना एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था कि ब्राउन तक चला जाएगा, बट
अच्छा, इसका मुझे कॉन्टेक्स्ट दो, बिकॉज़ ये मेरे को पता नहीं है क्या हुआ क्या था. लाइक यू मेट अविनाश, लाइक हाउ डिड इट स्टार्ट? लाइक डिड यू डायरेक्टली स्टार्टेड योर रिसर्च अंडर हिम और
नो. सो ऐसा हुआ था कि या एक कॉल हुई थी देन जहाँ पे ऐसा डिस्कशन हुआ कि क्यों करना है एंड why should I take you and all those things. तो फिर बेस्ड अपॉन माय रेज्यूमे उस टाइम के हिसाब से ही सजेस्टेड मी कि अभी रिसर्च आरए नहीं कर सकते हैं, लाइक रिसर्च असिस्टेंट नहीं बन सकते हैं, बट रिसर्च इंजीनियर बन सकते हैं. तो आई आस्क्ड कि जॉब क्या होगा, मतलब व्हाट विल बी द थिंग्स व्हिच आई विल बी वर्किंग ऑन. तो इट वाज मोस्टली about I think data cleaning, data capture. Anyway हम करते हैं VVO, but that was वो एक्सप्लिसिटली उसी चीज के लिए था कि डेटा कैप्चर, ब्लेंडर में रेंडरिंग करना, ये सब वगैरह उस चीजों के पे. तो I think then I again consulted with Abhinav and he suggested me कि I should write a nice mail to him about like why should you hire me and all those things. So I just genuinely like राइट अ मेल कि हाँ ठीक है, मैं आईआईटी से नहीं हूँ एंड लाइक किसी भी टॉप टायर कॉलेज से नहीं हूँ, बट व्हाटएवर द कोर्सेज यू विल से आई विल जस्ट डू इट, आई विल जस्ट लर्न इट बिफोर कमिंग देयर एंड जस्ट गिव मी अ चांस, जस्ट गिव मी एन अपॉर्चुनिटी. अगर एक महीने के लिए जस्ट मतलब डोंट गिव मी रिसर्च इंजीनियर जॉब, गिव मी लाइक रिसर्च असिस्टेंट जॉब. एक महीने के लिए ट्राई करते हैं, इफ इट वर्क्स देन फाइन, अगर इफ इट डजंट वर्क देन तो ठीक है, मैं रिसर्च इंजीनियर कर लूंगा. So that was the mail I wrote, and he replied, "Okay, ठीक है, दोनों ही like overlapping होती हैं, तो let's start with like just assistant only." then from there, like I started working on projects, and then later on, I think he was okay with me being as a research assistant. Yeah, that's how I started.
All right. And then what problems did you solve, like under Abbhinav sir's guidance?
Initially, I was working on one DST project, which was 3D hand mudra reconstruction. So it was more like, so I made a synthetic data in Blender for that. For like, I think there are 21 hand mudras or something, I forgot. For that, I made a synthetic data set for those hand mudras, and like trained a model which can give the hand mudra poses of hand in 3D based upon a single view, a monocular image from monocular image.
So ये basically dance वाले mudras हैं basically, that's what you're saying,
Yes,
right?
yes.
What is DST?
Department of Science and Technology.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
I see.
It's a government, I think, yeah.
Where this is used, this project right now?
ये successful नहीं हुआ. So हुआ ये कि there is very limited amount of data, and जो synthetic ने बनाया था, there was a huge gap between like जो synthetic का realism था and then जो actual में होता है, actual में noise होती है. So it was working fine on, like, whole pipeline was working fine on the synthetic, but ये चीज like real में deploy नहीं हो पाई थी. तो whole goal was कि हम पूरा dance capture करेंगे, plus डांस कैप्चर के साथ उसमें ये हैंड मुद्रास वगैरह भी हम इंक्लूड करेंगे. दैट वाज द होल गोल, बट सिर्फ डांस ही कैप्चर हो पाया, लास्ट में हैंड मुद्रा में मतलब इसको इंक्लूड नहीं कर पाए.
I see. And then for IIIT से then how was the journey ahead, like research papers, आगे का?
Yeah, so I worked in another paper like sharp with Dr. Sagar Jinka. He was PhD student back then. So we it was mostly 3D reconstruction of clothed human from a monocular image. And when you say clothed human, it was more of a like loosely clothed human. So for example, lehenga or very loosely clothings, kurta and all those. So yeah, we submitted to IGCV journal, and yeah, it got accepted. I was the third author, and Assitant and Sagar sir and Abbhinav sir were also there.
तो एक्चुअली प्रॉब्लम जो है ना बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लगता है मुझे, मेनली बिकॉज दिस हैज अ वेरी लार्ज इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट, है ना. सो इफ यू हैव, आई मीन सेवरल ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम्स, राइट, जैसे हैंड मुद्रास इन जनरल द वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड would solve only for maybe like simplistic poses, maybe sign language का करते हैं, right, but specifically mudras and dance mudras का नहीं करते, right. And if you want to like do preservation of Indian cultural history and things like that, which is typically where these kind of projects are used, फिर mudras का importance होता है. Similarly clothing, right, western clothing थोड़े बहुत dresses होते हैं जो loose होते हैं, but a lot of the common wear shirt and pant and t-shirts and coat, these are typically not loose clothing, है ना. और इनके जो deformations होते हैं, they are far more simpler than maybe somebody wearing a sari, right. साड़ी के जो deformations होते हैं, जितना मुश्किल है साड़ी बांधना उतना ही मुश्किल है उसे reconstruct करना. It's yeah, it's quite
क्या कोट है?
ये एक्चुअली शादी के बाद का एक्सपीरियंस है, तो सब कनेक्ट हो रहा है दिमाग में. You know, so it's a very, and ये वाला जो task है, the Western world will not be interested in this kind of complexity. हम ही होंगे जो कहेंगे कि चलो we want to see लहंगा का reconstruction, साड़ी का reconstruction and things like that, right. So that way this is a very like Indian problem to solve and an Indian solution that you're going for it. So in terms of that, I think it's very relevant work, बहुत ही interesting work है. और एक चीज जो perhaps now I am quite away from the field, तो इसमें challenges क्या हैं? What is like the typical challenges अगर तुम मॉडल कर रहे हो ऐसे clothed human को reconstruct करने में?
So I think biggest problem is data, because if we are talking about like deep learning methods, and mostly nowadays deep learning methods are trending. So data and their annotations. So you need to have 3D data. Firstly, like acquiring that data and capturing that data is very expensive. Not every lab, even in the world, not every lab does. And in India, I think there are very few. And so we captured like 200 plus people, included human, with like one static scanner. Um, so that's how we created data. But otherwise, like data is a like major issue. The second thing is in 3D there is no structure of the data. So for example, if you are talking about point clouds, if you are talking about mesh, there is no initial point and there is no end. Uh, like in image, there is a like convolution. You can do convolution. Data is structure, right? In 3D, there are like bunch of method who try to do like different convolutions, but there is not a single way to. And like doing convolution in a mesh and extracting those features in itself a research problem in 3D. So because of unstructured format, it becomes extremely like difficult and kind of ill pose. Uh, Another like thing is like what we are trying to do is from a single image or like from a very few images, we are trying to reconstruct complete human body. That itself is a ill posed problem, because like for example, if you are doing from a single view image, then the back part of the person, like there is no information about it, right? It's completely based upon the data we have. So that is also like extremely challenging.
After working this field, one specialty of the challenge with data. So data as a problem exists in a lot of fields. Like most problems will have data as a problem. Like if you were to compare, let's say an image, if you want to get more image data, it's very simple. Open your mobile phone, capture. Okay, है ना? थोड़ा सा, if you want a little bit more intricate या complicated data, you get few DSLRs, you might have to do थोड़ा सा synchronization at best, या कुछ लोग egocentric cameras use करते हैं, but at the best, it's just one camera and it's not that difficult, you know, and the cost of acquisition is not also that high. लेकिन 3D में it's very, very difficult and it's extremely expensive. And this is where I think the type of research and who can do research in 3D also comes in. क्योंकि अगर कोई छोटे group से है, right? Somebody is belonging to a small research group, or somebody is sitting in their own houses and they're trying to do research. You can do image-based research. You can't do 3D-based research, जो एक बहुत ही critical part हो जाता है. So I think that's where like 3D ka jo, the requirement of data and this costs like crores and crores of rupees. I mean, the setups can go up to that much, है ना? And इन्हें capture करना, synchronize करना, it's not a very easy problem. So all those, every domain says, hey, the more data we have, the more computational power we have, the easier the problem becomes solved. यहाँ पे it's kind of like 10x.
Yeah, the basic modality itself, the number of the dimensions in which that you have to work with, that itself is higher in this, right, in this modality. So obviously the challenges, inherent challenges also grow.
Correct. One other thing is like it's when you are moving from 2D to 3D, there is a like sharp learning curve. You can't just rely on like images representation. You first need to know a little bit of different representation. You need to know like camera models. You need to know how we how do we do convolution over these meshes, right? So you need to know about like depth, what is depth, and all those things. Like so, there is like sharp learning curve here.
तो अगर humans को इतना learning curve है, तो फिर machines have to learn what humans know, right? तो उसका और भी ज़्यादा learning curve होगा.
Well, not necessarily. It depends, right, how you model it, because humans, they have finite learning, I mean, cycles also. Whereas a machine, if with automation, you can, it depends on the representation. I mean, it's again a topic that we can go on and on about. It's a
ये थोड़ा सा, yeah, this could get very controversial and very
and not just that. I mean,
like
there are different
different
things.
directions.
Correct.
Yeah. So, during all this whole thing, you have like a third author and you have been a part of the project. So when were you offered the MS? तो अब तक तो research assistant थे, तो master's student company.
Yeah, so I didn't have any plan to do MS here. I was thinking that to go abroad, but my background was not supporting because I'm not computer science engineering student. So the Europe का तो पूरा ही चला गया because credits match नहीं होते. And then only option I have is like US, maybe Canada, or like some Asian countries. So then I just started mailing professors about can we do like some collaboration, or can we do some research? Can you hire me as a research intern? So I think I mailed Professor Srinath, and he replied. And luckily he was looking for research intern, I think, or maybe a collaboration with
Give me some context. Like, I don't know this. Who is this person? Because
Professor Srinath is a assistant professor at Brown University, where he leads the group with called I3D. No, sorry, IVL. My bad.
hopefully Professor Srinath will not watch this video.
यार नाम तो बताना चाहिए, जा रहे हो वहाँ पे अभी?
It's इसको काट देना. मैं फिर से बोलता हूँ.
Take two.
So Professor Srinath Sridhar is a assistant professor at Brown University, where he is leading the group IVL, Interactive Vision and Learning Group at Brown. So yeah, he's mostly working on neural fields, like neural fields-based methods. So neural fields methods like learning a continuous field rather than like just the discrete points. And the NERF is a major. We use NERF a lot for this because it can in a self-supervised manner, it can learn the continuous fields. Yeah.
I see. And so you messaged him, and then you mailed him, and he was looking for an intern. Then how did it go ahead?
Yeah. So then he we had an interview, and he was okay working with me, but he said like he can't call me to the campus because of the COVID issues. So we started collaborating, and he said like collaboration with like Professor Abbhinav will be good also. So I just told this thing to like my advisor, like Abbhinav sir, and he said like you can be like MS student here and start collaborating with him. Once you are like once you have good resume, once you have a paper, then you can leave also like anytime. So I like it was a kind of win-win situation for me because someone is giving me without any exam and without anything, and just based upon my performance and my research, giving me a MS like opportunity to MS in IIIT. And and I'm collaborating with Professor Srinath also. So that was kind of a win-win situation for me, and then like I got enrolled here as a MS student.
And that's nice. This is like एक चीज जो मुझे highlight करना है यहाँ पे कि although the traditional way is you write the exam, या तो GATE लिखो, या IIIT has their own exam for master students and free researchers and so on. So that's obviously one way of doing it, but there are like so many students that I know who come this way, right? They join as a research assistant, they join as a research intern, they show their caliber, and eventually इसमें दो फायदे हैं. एक तो I feel personally कि ये ज़्यादा easier way of getting in है rather than studying for some exam या going through that. And the second thing is 100% you and the professor know you are a match for each other, है ना? अगर वो frequency match नहीं हो रहा है and it's not actually working out in those 6 months, you automatically look कि ये मेरे लिए नहीं है, कम से कम professor ये मेरे लिए नहीं है, या फिर area मेरे लिए नहीं है, well in advance. So it's a way of trying, and also you get this opportunity. Or बहुत students हैं जो ये करते हैं, and this is something that people actually should be aware of. It's not just one way. And
so for anyone listening, if they want to do that, it's also one way.
Actually, it was it was a shock for me initially as well, that without any exam, how can I get into like any program here? Then I realized, okay, you can.
It's basically it's a better exam, right? See, the exams that you entrance exams that you give are a couple of hours long, and they're targeted and they have to be generic by nature because they're not specific for each program. Whereas this one, the person has had the chance to work with you based on some context, and they can evaluate you. Of course, that doesn't scale because सबको नहीं कर सकते हो आप ऐसा. But this is also one approach.
Yeah.
Quite nice. So you got offered the MS and you have this chance to collaborate. What next? Uske baad kya? Or you're already a third author on a paper. You have to kind of decide your own MS track and all of that.
Like we started working on, we started looking for some problems and research gap with Professor Srinath. And parallelly, I was working working here on multiple projects. One project was with Assitant, where we try to reconstruct the garment based upon just a single image. And instead of just a garment, we are kind of giving it reconstructing a textured cloth. So there are two different type of representation usually used in the 3D vision or maybe graphics, is point cloud colors, like vertex colors, where every color is on each vertex. So each vertex will have its position and as well as RGBA. So that's how you will store the vertex colors. But for the texture color, you will have to map the whole 3D surface to a image, which we call texture map. And that's just an image. And we can fill the color there, we can manipulate it, we can do the editing there, we can super resolve it, and that will get reflected in a rendering of that particular 3D model. So this was pretty good work, and textured cloth reconstruct करना हमारे results काफी अच्छे थे, pretty real to the actual cloth. So, and it was accepted in ACM Multimedia. Here I was second author and Asit was first author. Then
so growing in stature, धीरे-धीरे से 3 से 2 आ गए.
After this work, so I said right कि एक पूरे 3D space को एक 2D image में map करना है. So this process is called UV parameterization or surface parameterization, because you are parameterizing a 3D surface to a 2D image. So we had an idea that we can do some neural version of the actual parameterization method, and found some little bit very little gaps in research. So we started working on it, and we made a neural version of it and published at SIGGRAPH Asia Technical Communication. And me and Shantika were the first author, and Asit was second author there. So
See, one thing I want to understand is this is a space which I'm just partially familiar with, है ना? So whatever you have proposed, उसमें and I'm well aware कि research में जो चीजें तुम्हें भी पता होगा, right? From your experience at working at the startup, productization is something very different, जहाँ पे तुम्हें काफी सारे edge cases देखने पड़ेंगे. Research में you're often just focused on quite a narrow or a very specific, like either it's a data set or something very, very specific set of cases where you want to do slightly better, है ना? So I want to understand इसमें from whatever you propose, इसमें limitations क्या हैं?
I think limitation is key. This is deep learning method. That's the limitation. It's a neural version. That's a limitation. For example, in the parameterization, what happens is when you are optimizing something, there are proper mathematical constraints based upon the optimization function is derived, right? So so mathematically, when you are optimizing it, those constraints will never cross. So you kind of bound
Okay.
like, yeah,
possibilities of
but
the data essentially.
Basically, what you're saying is, in some sense, if you're going about it the neural network way, you don't have some constraints on top of it.
yes, we only have is like the loss, or maybe the regularizer, right? And while doing the inference, there is no loss, there is no regression. So it's possible that like neural network will not respect those constraints or will not respect those regulations.
And
So,
why do you
but in
think it is? Why do you think it's difficult to maybe add a regularization in inference?
because then it becomes a little bit more computational overhead, and you have to like again optimize. Like it's kind of test time optimization.
I unfortunately don't have much idea about, so I cannot contribute.
So I'm just
There's a
thinking in
3D
terms
space.
of like, so essentially to kind of break it down, it's something like you are trying to model some cloth or something, and the cloth can end up having like a very weird shape. To give an abstract example, not in terms of the parameterization itself, more regularization, you're having you're basically having you're having a piece of cloth, and that cloth can have like any kind of, can be reconstructed in any way, right? But you want to add some kind of, you want to add structure to it through some regularization, and you are saying that takes, it's 3D itself is already computationally expensive. Now test time pe bhi agar tum optimization kar rahe ho, फिर that's one more layer on top of that, and that's just not feasible. It's not
Yes,
feasible.
yes.
And using
And
something like a template based method for clothing or something as diverse as what is it, non-rigid clothing, right, is just not possible. Any template based method is not possible because template provides some regularization, लेकिन वो दूसरे end of spectrum पे है, जहाँ पर उस deformations की वो क्या है, you don't even have freedom of deformations in a template method.
Yes.
What was the most exciting piece of work? Like clearly you've touched upon quite a different set of topics over your research work, वगैरह, or an application ऐसा कुछ. What was it which you're proud of?
Definitely, this parameterization work was something which we built from scratch. We there was like level of happiness in the process. So, for example, we started from something. We said, okay, let's do this way. Okay, we have one way of doing it. Okay, it was not working. Okay, we tried the second way. Then it was not working. Then for the third way, which I was like very confident, okay, it should work. Then it was also not working. So we again, and the deadline was in like 1 month or like 1.5 months, I guess. So we started like thinking and doing a bunch of experiments, and suddenly like just a single change in like parameter, it was just like he just giving a global embedding rather than the local embeddings. It started learning the parameterization, like it started mapping that 3D space to 2D space. Before that it was just like projecting. It was just like we are giving a mesh and it was just projecting. We were getting like very projected and projected vertices, and there was a lot of overlap. But just adding a global embedding, it tried to like unfur the whole mesh. So that was very exciting, and it felt very good. Initially, we were depressed, like this will never work, like neural method will not be able to do it. And then we came to that, when we came to that point, it was pretty exciting. Then we added like different constraints, then we added some different module, and like then we like wrote a paper about it. So this was pretty uh, yeah, rise and fall type of journey for this project. So that's why I love this project as well, because uh, we did it from scratch. We didn't take anyone
No
we
shortcuts
didn't
basically.
build upon anything or something, and like so
Journey itself was enjoyable, basically made it all the results side.
Often like most research always picks and builds upon a lot of existing research. So I think that's what you're basically saying कि यहाँ पे scratch से ही कुछ completely नया propose किया है, which is which is just of our own accord, and that is what was most satisfactory. quite nice.
Yeah. I mean, we have used like other MLPs, like other people's MLP or something like that. But like the whole architecture and the whole idea of doing this, it was formulation for that particular task was pretty novel.
Nice. Or फिर finally you moved to first author status. I think SIGGRAPH Asia, was that it?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So me and Shantika both went to South Korea for presenting the paper. It was I think December, first week of December, Daegu, and Avinash has helped a lot in like funding it, because obviously it would have not have been possible without like any funding, because like institute kind of gives, I think, what, 30, 40, maybe 50 max funding. So for both of us, Avinash have funded like the whole trip, everything. So that was pretty good, and he made life a lot easier with visas and all, because first time we are going abroad and all, right? And experience at South Korea was amazing. Like such a advanced country, and like actual tech, whatever we are doing here, they were like product. Like I was seeing them in like real world, like in airport or something, cafes, or like everywhere, like different types.
As an example?
For example, like automated robot, self-moving. It was like kind of like information board, and which like you can talk to him, and वो सामने आएगा तो वो ऐसे झुकेगी, and फिर हाई करेगी, and then information आएगा, then I think voice में भी कह सकते हो कि क्या क्या है, तो all those things in airport were pretty awesome. And like I got a chance to present my work there, like among all the top-notch researcher from the graphics, and it's SIGGRAPH Asia, so like सभी एकदम ऊपर के gems हैं. तो that was pretty. I was goosebumps आ गए थे, बहुत terrified था, but वो हुआ. Then उसके बाद question answer का panel था, वो हुआ. Then like, but that was like amazing experience कि other people are asking about our work, and वो हमारे work में interested है, because we were thinking कि कहाँ हम गलती से हमारा accept हो गया. वो क्योंकि SIGGRAPH Asia is like उसके बार काफी high है, तो getting accepted there was like okay, कैसे accept हो गया. फिर वहाँ क्योंकि लोगों ने काफी interest दिखाया, and then उन्होंने भी कुछ ऐसे limitation बताई जो हमें नहीं पता थी, and all those things, right? तो उससे काफी वो मिला, बूस्ट अप मिला एक कॉन्फिडेंस को भी, कि हम राइट ट्रैक पे हैं, हम राइट ट्रैक पे हैं.
Awesome. You know, एक चीज है, पिथौरागढ़ से you are coming, right? And now you are gone all the way to South Korea. How did your family react?
My family is still sad about मैं गवर्नमेंट जॉब में नहीं हूँ.
Man, this is something that is like, इससे ज्यादा इंडियन और क्या होगा भाई.
I don't think I have a follow-up to that.
Because उन्हें लगता है कि मैं दिन भर लैपटॉप में रहता हूँ, मेरी आंखें खराब हो जाएंगी, वो सब चीजें हैं. अभी यूएस जा रहा हूँ, कहीं वहीं सेटल ना हो जाऊं, तो ऐसे ही सब वो सब चीजें हैं, तो
very nice. सही. एक चीज, so I actually अब काफी मोमेंटम आ चुका है ग्रुप में, राइट? इतने सारे पब्लिकेशंस आ चुके हैं, एंड probably India's amongst top groups 3D में, right? When I visited, I think last time in August of last year, one thing which I obviously loved was the reading group. और मैं यहाँ researcher से पूछता हूँ importance of the reading group, right? During my time we did try to start the culture, लेकिन वो वैसे students नहीं थे. तो फिर in your research, like how important has the whole reading group and the whole collaborative experience been?
I think like it's very important. Even if I don't talk about a reading group, just explaining your ideas to someone maybe bunch of friends, or maybe at least one. Like it's such an amazing thing that when you are thinking, you don't think about so many aspects of it. But when you are telling it to someone, and when they question you, then you start to think about like, oh, this can be like, this is also possible. This is also possible. Like this is the limitation of the current formulation. All those things, and sometimes it turns out to be complete garbage idea you have, and sometimes a lot of things get built upon those ideas. So yeah, reading group is pretty important, and just understanding the new papers, some good papers, and when you are presenting those papers after understanding them properly, and then someone questions you, like those are like yeah, those are very important, because before that you are just in a space where you are assuming things. Okay, this might have been there, this might have been there. But when someone is not understanding, and there are a lot of people and everyone is understanding with different perspective, and some questions are become like very important, like some question actually hit where this method will not work, and then that becomes a research gap. And then you have now you have now like found that research gap, and you can work towards that. So I personally think that research group and discussing and collaborating with others is way to go.
Great sounding boards, right? And then you get diverse perspective. That is the important thing. And in general, discussing with people, you understand, you get constructive criticism and then improve, right?
True. So you have, all your research stuff. You're also an MS student. I've seen that you have taken some courses in AR, VR, and obviously your own work in 3D has a lot of applications, AR, VR. Man. So I want to kind of get your take on what's happening in this space with Apple's Vision Pro coming in, and Oculus coming in, and there's a lot of interest. Qualcomm also has its own headset that they're trying to create. Lot of noise, and anytime Apple enters the industry, then there is bound to be some movement. So do you see like some क्योंकि वो data capture के लिए भी हो सकता है, I don't know, there could be a possible use case, and right. So do you see some movement, and what's your take on this whole AR uprising, so to speak?
I think Apple solved a lot of problems in the domain, but there are a few still, like some challenging problems still remaining. Like for example, Apple, I don't think they handle the haptic or maybe physical interaction, right? Because it's without hand, it's just like gestures and all. So it's, and if you want to feel in different world, and if you want to get immersed in a different world, the touch and your feelings, like when you are touching something and you are getting that feedback, right? That's very important. Otherwise it's just like मैं ऐसे हाथ कर रहा हूँ and यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं है, but मुझे यहाँ पर 3D कुछ दिख रहा है, wall दिख रहा है, right? So that's कितना भी वो realistic रहे, but mind को fool करने में difficult होगा. So I think that's one big challenge. I think Apple probably will be working there. And वैसे देखें तो I think it's very interesting, but अभी काफी ज़्यादा expensive है. So obviously, even for data collection, not every lab can afford it. I think it's $3,000 some, right? Around that. तो
इंडिया में GST import सब लगा के 2 लाख हो जाएगा.
वही तो
quite a bit more than that.
$3,000 मतलब उससे भी ज्यादा, 3 लाख हो जाएगा.
2.5 लाख तो ऐसे ही है.
2.4 is just
4-5 तो ऐसे ही हो जाएगा वो.
Yeah, but I think it looks good. There मतलब बहुत सारा काम हो रहा है. All the work which we are doing gonna have some impact on the AR and VR industry, because all these algorithms, all these models gonna be used there somehow. Whether it is like hand-object interaction, whether it is like virtual try-on and all those things. So I think it's progressing with a like pretty good pace, and especially the Meta and I'm not sure about their production part, Oculus and all, but their research part is becoming so good. So, for example, you must have seen that SAM, right? Like arbitrary segmentation model. So you can
not as updated. Tell me what it is.
So till now, what used to happen that there were fixed classes, fixed labels for that you can do segmentation, right? Now Meta has released a generic segmentation, and so it's so versatile that you can give text. So for example, you just give a scene and you say, okay, कि मुझे chair चाहिए, and chair को segment कर देगा. And same for like points. You just point वहाँ पर annotate कर लो कि इस point का मुझे segmentation चाहिए, तो automatically उस chair को identify कर लेगा and उसको segmentation. So this is kind of a like generic segmentation. And it has been very useful in our project also, like for segmenting hands, segmenting objects, and just based upon text, just based upon like points. So I think research and Meta is pretty good in this case.
So this
what
is
do you think about? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
One thing, I'll go ahead because this is something that is interesting to me. Because you're talking about the research at these big companies, right? And your experience has been in startups. So this is something that I wanted to touch upon. That did you consider joining any of the big tech if you had a chance, or why not? Maybe.
I think I will for sure try. I will give it a shot, but I am not very optimistic about it because like I haven't done any internship or any thing in like big companies, but what I've heard is like the research you do should be aligned with your the product. You can't do any arbitrary research. So that's something I want to do in future. For example, I want to try like multiple different aspect of like different completely different research which might not be
and with the business basically.
Yes. So but yeah, I will try for sure, but let's see.
Yeah, I mean the plus side also being that big companies usually have access to a lot more data and the infrastructure. They have a lot more money to play around with. Usually.
Yes, I agree. But one other thing is if you are maybe research assistant or maybe some in research position in some big universities like MIT, Stanford, like Brown. So they have enough fundings and they have enough resources, and it's kind of like independent research. So I want certain setup to build in certain way for a certain task. I have money, I will build it. I don't have to take any permission. I don't have doesn't need to be aligned with something. I can do my own independent research, and I think I agree with that. Like I like that.
So basically, you're kind of saying कि future में somehow I want to become a professor. That is more in alignment with what you're saying.
I think that's वो सरकारी नौकरी भी है, government job भी है.
Family में कुछ.
This sounds good. Sorry.
Yeah.
एक और चीज.
Go ahead, you go ahead. अरे okay, so the thing is, क्योंकि हम अभी AR की बातें कर रहे थे, हमें इस तरफ अभी Vision Pro वगैरह, right? So this is something that I don't know about. मुझे details नहीं पता है, but ये मैंने just like I heard it in passing from Abbhinav. तो ये नाटू वाला क्या चीज है, बताओ जरा.
Oh, I think Astitto and Amog were involved in that project. I don't have very good idea, only very high level idea. So it's basically finding the correspondences across people in like images. So for example, if there are two human, so finding a correspondence between two humans. So for example, the hand of one person should match with like hand of another person. So because it's very important in a lot of tasks, so where you want to transfer something from one image to another image onto different human, right? So that was the project, like finding the good correspondences across humans.
I see.
So basically, what these guys did is they took advantage of the RRR wave, and you have this video of them dancing, right? Natu pe. So essentially, they have overlaid two humans on top, and as they are kind of dancing, there is a live or real-time sort of correspondence being shown in a color map on both of them being overlaid. So publicity stunt hai, or
I think it was Asit's side, and he's good at it.
जरूरी है भाई, जरूरी है, जो दिखता है वो बनता है.
Necessary है.
Very true. लेकिन the moment I saw that, it was very captivating and it drew me towards it. है ना? Because what dance भी, it's not that it is it's slow, right? It's very fast paced. Very fast paced. So उस real time level पे, if you're able to have correspondences saying that, you know, the head maps to head and hand maps to map, तो फिर तो it's amazing, right? And main advantage of this is अगर correspondences हैं, तो essentially whether it is animation, if you can animate person A, you can also animate person B because you have correspondences, right? Whether it's animation, changing color, changing anything, the correspondences है तो सब कुछ कर सकते हो. तो बहुत ही captivating था, and very interesting. Speaking of, you know, interesting stuff and disrupting the industry, generative AI, है ना? एक चीज that you kind of touched upon is this work of Facebook, right? Where you can give a text and they can kind of segment whatever you want. So kya generative AI is also sort of making its way into 3D?
Yes, actually पूरा हमारा feed flooded है generative AI in 3D से. Because 2D is almost solved. Almost generative 2D is almost solved, and now they are like going for generative 3D, and so there are like bunch of methods. Abhi obviously nascent stage mein hai, but like there are so many ideas lurking around कि अगर तुम अभी एक सोचो तो कल तक वो पेपर आ जाएगा. तो अभी वो चल रहा है, स्पेशली आफ्टर कमिंग लाइक डिफ्यूजन जब 3D में आ रहा है, तो उसके रिस्पेक्ट में काफी ज्यादा फ्लडेड है.
So is like, for example, you know, your group planning on working along those lines, या फिर कोई top groups that you're seeing actually?
I think already Asit and one dual degree student is already working right now. And I think Shantika is also started working with MPI, Mark Haberman, I think on generative cloth in 3D. Yeah, I'm not very sure about the MPI part, but Astit is working on diffusion and generative 3D. And I think he has some good results also.
Nice. Very interesting. I think this is like the place to be, essentially. You know, one thing I'm also getting is Asita really likes to be in the news. जैसे नाटो पे बना रहा है, अब जनरेटिव एआई चल रहा है तो मुझे जनरेटिव एआई पे काम करना है. Nice, interesting character. सही है. So now what? Finally, you are basically moving on to Brown University, and you're going to spend the summer there. क्या plan है?
Yes, I'm gonna spend the summer there. I think till November end.
So it's an intern. It's a 6-month intern.
It's a 4-month intern.
4-month intern then.
Not exactly intern, but kind of a visiting research fellow.
I see.
Extension of the existing collaboration
with the professor.
Yes.
Very nice.
How has your experience been working with him?
Pretty good, actually. He thinks very fundamentally.
First
and yes, from first principle, like अगर कोई paper है, कोई दूसरा work है, तो let it be. Like let's think from first principles की, like just common sense की क्या होना चाहिए, क्या नहीं होना चाहिए, and then why to make it complex.
What is this first principles thing? Is it something 3D specific or?
Yeah, 3D specific or like problem specific. Like कोई एक problem है, उसे tackle करना है, but there are like bunch of papers lurking around, right? So first his approach will be ki, okay, we have this problem, what we want to do, and how can we do it बिना बाकी सारे पेपर्स में जाए हुए या फिर वो सब किए हुए. So sometimes ऐसा होता है कि the perspective from which he thinks वो first principle से वो कभी कभार अलग होता है जो भी किसी ने किया है. So then we start some like building upon that sometime or ऐसे मतलब yeah. And he's very clear about what he says and what he thinks, and yeah, he's very patient. So that's the thing I like about him.
Very true, very true. Cool, awesome. Oh, by the way, first principles is not just a 3D thing. It's
yeah, that's what I understood.
Yeah,
more
first
like a
principle
framework
thinking,
of thinking rather something like that.
It's sort of like a generic thing jo kafi I know it more in the business context, because when I was doing research, I was just figuring out shit ki kaise kis direction mein jana. It was like very, very random in that sense. Whereas I think now a lot of you guys are far more structured and you have a ढंग का research methodology. मेरा context ज़्यादा business से है. But yeah, it's universally applicable and very, very foundational and fundamental. Nice. सही है. So best of luck. I think we have covered all that we want to cover. कोई do you have any special thank yous to give to anybody या फिर any special messages or
गाली भी देना कोई दिक्कत नहीं. Probably just beep it out.
I think सबको कह दिया है. I mean all people in like here IIIT, like not all people in the group here at IIIT सबने help करी है, and like it was a like fun because I have seen like कि कहीं किसी ग्रुप में रिसर्च एकदम डिप्रेसिंग से जाती है, बोरिंग से जाती है, किसी प्रेशर होता है. यहाँ पर हमारे ऐसा होता है कि नहीं, हम खुद से आते हैं रिसर्च करने के लिए लैब में.
अभी भी गाने बना रहे हो क्या?
I thought मैंने सोचा था बीच में बनाऊंगा, but unfortunately I have Mac. तो उसमें पायरेसी नहीं चलती है अभी. या फिर चलती है तो इट्स नॉट वेरी सक्सेसफुल.
कोई बात नहीं you'll go to अभी ट्राई करो. अभी वैसे भी ब्राउन जाओगे, वहां पे जाके उनको रिक्वेस्ट कर लेना, get the software, get all the lab mates and jam, and then put a song from there.
That's the final goal. I don't know मैं यहाँ कहाँ रिसर्च में भटक गया म्यूजिक करते.
अरे तुम तो मुझे फ्यूचर दिख रहा है.
वही तो घर वाले तो एकदम मतलब घर वाले सोचो, हर बार हमारा बेटा आता है नए जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन के साथ. प्रोफेसर था, आज बोल रहा है म्यूजिक करना है, कल बोलेगा कुछ और करना है.
मुझे तो अलग फ्यूचर दिख रहा है कि ये बनेगा प्रोफेसर और अपने गिटार के साथ बैठेगा.
अरे बढ़िया है, ये बढ़िया है. ऐसे यू नो अगले पॉडकास्ट में you'll have the guitar and you'll be like using that. एकदम मस्त. वो हमें अगला पॉडकास्ट will schedule you पहले से, है ना. आज हम we are discussing about how you are a IIIT. अगले वाले के लिए how you became a successful musician.
Why उसका टाइटल होगा Why did I leave ML?
Yes.
Yeah. Or maybe start doing ML in music.
Why not? Why not?
Part of research now.
It's an interesting space.
Yeah.
It is. So yeah, man.
Anyway,
Great.
yeah. Thanks a lot for having me.
Cool. Chalo. Thanks and thanks for doing this.
Thank you for putting up with us. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks a lot for having me.
Bye.
Tatas. Bye.